Hi everyone, I'm Stephen Revere and this is Star English. Thanks for joining us. You know, a lot of people are very happy with what they're doing and a lot of people are very unhappy with what they're doing. But sometimes the difference is not what they're doing, but their attitude toward what they're doing. Two people can have the exact same job. One person can be very happy about it and one person cannot. You know, these attitudes that somebody else always has a better job or a better life, we have a saying for that. We say, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. In Korean, you have a very similar expression, don't you? 남의 떡이 더 커 보인다, right? Well, it is your attitude that determines how big your 떡 actually is, isn't it? Well, let's get started with some Star English today and make your 떡 a little bigger. And for your trivia today, we have a relatively new expression. Have you ever heard of a nomad? You know what a nomad is? Someone with no home who moves from place to place. 유목민, right? The people who move around from place to place when they live. Well, have you ever heard of a job nomad? That is someone who goes from place to place following their job. I know when I was young, my father followed his new job from place to place. It's kind of like sometimes they could be a freelancer who changes jobs very often, but sometimes it can be someone who has just a regular job but moves for their job all the time. But today, we're going to talk to a freelancer, someone who does some announcing. Let's go say hi. How you doing, Danny?
How you doing, Steve?
Nice to meet you.
Great to be here.
So, your Korean name is?
It's Jinwon, Jinwon.
Jinwon.
Yes.
Right, and your English name is Danny. Huh?
Daniel, that's a very common name.
Daniel.
I believe you had a bunch of guests here who was named Danny.
I don't know about a bunch, but yeah, it is a common name in English, yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself to get started.
Well, first of all, I am currently working as a newscaster or news anchor in various English channels, and also I do a lot of voiceover work, and also I do some English writing, mostly translations, but you know how it is. In here, you have to write your own stuff, not just translate word for word, otherwise it gets really lost in translations there. I think that's more or less sums up what I do here.
Right. So, what do you have a main job then at this point, or is it just mostly freelancing? The
main live programs that keep me occupied will be the radio reporting gigs and, of course, the news anchoring, I guess, obligations that I have at the moment.
That was a good expression, gig, okay? Yes. This is also an English teaching program, so sometimes we explain some of the little expressions that you use, and a gig is kind of a part-time job that you get every once in a while, right?
Well, in this industry, everything is, unpredictable. You never know when your next dollar is going to come from, and you never know when you might be fired. You might be the last to know.
Aha! So it's good to have a lot of gigs lined up, right?
It's good to have a lot of safety.
Yeah, gigs being like jobs of sorts, right? We use those especially for musicians and who are playing.
Artists, usually.
Yeah. The musicians who are playing a band, their band has a gig, right? A job to play at a performance or something like that.
Right.
Okay, so so your main gig you were saying is right now
newscasting.
Newscasting. So that's it with Arirang?
That's with Arirang TV.
Okay, and how often are you on Arirang?
Well, the hours have been shifting kind of back and forth, and right now I am doing the 10 a.m., but you never know when it might be changed, when they say 개편, or when they start when they start readjusting channels, or the programming department decides to make certain changes to jazz things up a little bit. That's when you can expect some waves to come.
In the new season?
The new season also, you might add.
Okay. Okay.
It's funny how the industry uses a lot of Korean words instead of English, even with the English-speaking persona or the people who are involved in this field.
All of these difficult expressions that you use, we have to explain too.
Right.
So jazz things up a bit means make them a little more exciting, right?
Upgrades.
Yeah, upgrade. And so when they do a new season, you were saying they might try to jazz things up a bit. They might try to make it a little better. So
right.
Okay. And so right now, every morning 10, is that live?
10 a.m. live, so it's always exciting, and you know it's got its pros and cons. Doing a recording show as opposed to doing a live one, you know the pros and cons of that.
Yeah. Recording's a little easier.
Sometimes.
Live is quite challenging, isn't it?
You know, sometimes live can be easier because you know exactly when it's gonna end. Sometimes recording, you can get stuck in a limbo, not knowing when it's gonna end.
Yeah.
Depending on the guest, sometimes if you do a talk show like this one, right?
Yeah. So, like you're saying, if it's live, you got that exact time.
Right.
And then if it's not, you never know how long it will take. Right.
To put it in a very simple way to look at it for Korean viewers out there, it'll be like working for the government, as in punching out at the exact time on the dot.
Oh, if it's live.
Right.
Okay, I see. So how did you end up getting into this line of work?
You know, sometimes I ask myself that same question too. Well, I feel very blessed, that's why. Coincidentally, I wasn't really honing myself up for this industry when I was small. The thing was, when I was in high school, I got a chance to get involved in a lot of community plays. Because I was a Korean living overseas, and you know how tightly knit the Korean community is, right? So we would always have some kind of a project, usually in the field of arts. And I happened to get involved in acting. So they would stage an actual performance. They would try to keep it kind of top-notch so that the Korean audience would not be disappointed.
Sure.
So we would bring some experts who are actually active in that field from Daehangdo. You know, that's where all the performers and the actual serious players are. So they
professional actors.
Right, the professional actors and professional directors to come and teach the non-professionals like us, usually in churches or Korean schools. And it will be pretty hardcore. I mean, there will be like throwing props at you and shouting and all that. Because you know the very Spartan Korean way of doing things.
Spartan way of doing things. That means a very 엄격한, right? Okay, a Spartan way of doing things. So when you're talking about something like